Thank you, Major General Inder Balan, sir, for joining us today at Swarajya Conclave. It's a great pleasure to host you, and we're going to speak about your distinguished 37 years of career, which spanned from Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh to Northeast, and I think it was also a UN mission in Africa. Yes, sir.
And the most memorable is the Kargil War.
The most memorable. So, sir is a Kargil War hero, so that's amazing. You know, we are really proud to have you here, sir.
Yes, Duke. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, tell us about your journey. You are a technically very proficient person. You are a BSc, BTech, MTech, MBA from IIT Kharagpur, and you led some very critical missions. So how did this, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a man leading forces, or do you see yourself as a technical mind?
I think God's been kind, Duke. I had an opportunity to lead the best forces in the world, so to say, and that's the defense forces for almost 37 years of my life. And at the same time, the forces themselves gave me opportunity to work on technology. I come from Corps of Engineers, and we were the first in the country way back in 2001 to develop something called as Counter Remote Control IED Initiator, pre-initiator. That was the time between 1990 to 2000 when the valley had got infested with remote control IEDs, which were based on radios and blown using a transmitter or a mobile.
Oh.
And it was playing havoc with our security forces. We suffered large number of casualties, not so much in operations, but more due to ID attacks. These are improvised explosive devices. And I was in the valley from 1996 to 1998, before I went to Kargil War. And we lost a lot of people in the convoy getting attacked, and there was no solution. The conventional IDs, there were some sort of solution. So we, from 7 Engineer Regiment, we decided to take it upon ourselves to solve this problem. And fortunately for us, when we embarked on this, we managed to get a cache of about 50 IED boxes. When we examined these, they all looked something similar, and but we couldn't crack how to understand. This is a time when India was not into so much technology. Technology startups were what you have available today were not available. Very few companies actually worked on technology, and we didn't know whom to approach even to support us. But we did our own analytics, and we found out that these boxes we had caught were basically transceivers, and they all had a 10-digit code behind them. When we broke this 10-digit code by repeated algorithms, mental algorithms, we found that these codes had some commonality. The first 6 digits represented the citizen band in frequency. The last 4 digits represented some sort of a DTMF code which would initiate and fire the IED. So when we had cracked this, we knew we had cracked the problem. Now what's the solution? So to find the solution, I had to get hold of Garmin GPS, again imported stuff, to run it through over a entire citizen band frequency cycle with 5 band spectrums. And run these DTMF codes over each of these frequency band, which means it took us about almost 2 hours to run the entire spectrum with entire permutation combination of 1 to 10 digits in all these 4 numbers. And it had to be automated.
That's almost 10,000 iterations?
More.
Oh, okay.
4, so you can do how much that will be.
Yeah.
10, so that's a combination permutation formula you have to apply for that.
10p4, I think.
10, oh, that's good. You're a math student, man. Good.
Yeah.
It'll be 10p4. That's it. So you can work it out how much that will be. And it has to have a certain duration too. So it took us nearly 2 hours to run through the whole thing. We needed almost 120 radio sets for this and the power to run it. But when we did succeed in putting the system together with the necessary control system, where we did not have smart chips those days, it had to be human designed. And we deployed this, we found that IEDs were getting pre-initiated even before the convoy, well before the convoy is reached.
And you meant to say they were pre-programmed to blast at a certain time?
So what happens is that an IED has a transceiver and it's got a detonator which attached to the explosive. And how this works is the transceiver sends a message before the convoy comes to switch it on. So it is always transmitting though and receiving. So it switches on, gets ready. As the targeted vehicle passes over, they push the second DTMF button, it blasts. That's how it used to work. We didn't know how to stop it because we did not have jammers which can stop this. Instead of jamming, let's say pre-initiate it. So the pre-initiating was that when we ran this entire cycle early morning from 5 to 8 to twice over, the IEDs which were blasted in those ranges which are deployed would get blasted.
Oh, wow. So this was happening.
We had instances where militants, while planting, had a blast on their face and
they were sent.
Yes. So that was the biggest breakthrough achieved in technology, and that was my tryst with real deep technology then.
So the engineer in you was right at the barrack,
yes, At the barrack, you said it right. We actually developed it in our langar. In our langar, that is where men eat, because we had no other place to do it. It's like a startup, technology startup.
That's amazing.
I think after that, I didn't look back. I remain in touch with this technology. And today, God has brought me to the forefront of drone technology in the country. And I'm happy to be associated with this entire new paradigm of warfare.
It's really exhilarating, sir, that a man of your aptitude and caliber is, it's almost... I think, how many years were you serving back then, sir? How many years did you already serve in 1998?
So 2009, I would say. So I got it commissioned in 87. So about, let's say, 20 odd years.
So from 87 till it's almost going to be 2027 is almost 4 decades of you serving the nation, sir.
Now, yes.
So I'm really glad that, it's wonderful to have you here. Sir, we are in Swarajya Conclave, and you are a man of technical curiosity, and you've served and led, able person of courage and valor. How do you see Swarajya Conclave, and we're talking about vision of 100 years of independence in 2047? So how do you, when you think of Swarajya, how does it spell out in your mind?
Swarajya to me translates in English as self-governance. It's your ability to have the entire nation to yourself and own the nation in totality. But Swarajya has different facets and components by themselves. So I will not go into all the components. But for me, being a technology man, being a military man, I think the territorial integrity and sovereignty is one part, which is part of Swarajya. The second is the technology sovereignty. I would dwell upon these two because I come from this domain. We all understand what is territorial integrity and sovereignty, that you don't allow any foreign power to, I would say, attack you, or for that matter, to breach this sovereignty of our territory, whether it is water, land, air or space. That's your territorial sovereignty. What is technical sovereignty? Today, India is making strides on Atmanirbhar Bharat. Every day we hear of some new product coming up, which is supporting the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept. The Operation Sindoor was fought successfully on Atmanirbhar Bharat concept. You heard these two women officers also talk about it in KBC.
Salute to our lady officers,
yes,
sir.
As to how the air defense system, which is entirely produced out of Atmanirbhar Bharat, managed to ward away the Pakistani drones. So that is Atmanirbhar Bharat, and it is leading to self-reliance in technology. But as a technology man, I will not be happy if I limit my aspiration to remain only self-reliant in technology. I would like it to go to the highest level of what is called as technology sovereignty. Now, most of us would think they're the same thing, Even I used to think that. But when I did some deep study, realized there is a huge difference. If I were to explain, self-reliance in technology would mean what we did in Operation Sindoor, that we used air defense systems, which is manufactured in India, which is manufactured by DRDO, to be able to ward away Pakistani drones. So we say we are now self-reliant in air defense technology. But if you were to ask you a deeper question, are each of the components which was used in those complex air defense systems, are they all made in India? Are they all developed in India? Are they all created in India? Does the rare earth materials required for making those components, is it available in India? Do we have access to it? Have we done the fundamental research to redo something that we want to do? Do we have the codes for it? Are we capable of doing another transformational research to create the necessary transformation required to make that technology happen? Is the deep component of the technology entirely in our control? Do we have entire sovereignty to deploy where, how, what, in different ways that we want to? Do we have the full sovereignty to sell it to any nation that we wanted to?
Do you mean to say, sir, that when we think of Swarajya and sovereignty, you're talking, if I understand it right, the whole architecture, all the tiers involved in technology, right from the complete system down to the
Inception.
component level, the design aspect, the manufacturing, since you said the rare earth material, also the supply chain aspect of it. We need to be self-reliant in all of that by 2047. Is that what you're saying?
They should be. Not in all. Obviously, you cannot achieve technology sovereignty in every single technology. But India must identify what is critical for India. Let's say drones, autonomous platforms, and robotics. If you feel these three are dual use technologies which has huge use cases in private sector for India to become a 15 trillion economy or 30 trillion economy. But these three very technologies are also the game changers and disruptors in the defense warfare. So if India identify these three platforms as critical, then the technology associated with these technology, we must ensure we have sovereignty or not just reliance. This example, I think, covers everything.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Sir, now here is something, we are a very rich civilization, very deep, profound. I mean, we've given to humanity a lot of gifts. Yoga is the human and the conscience arithmetic, is how I see yoga. Or the concept of mathematics, that is zero. These are undated. The profoundness of this has never been challenged. But today, when we talk about nations and we talk about Swarajya, how does it pan out for a civilization that has always been a proponent of excellence, whether it's of human mind, human conscience? That is the reason why we have so many CEOs of Indian origin turning around big businesses. That is also we see being exhibited by current day Indian entrepreneurs, like the CEO of Perplexity is a young fellow. He recently approached Google to buy Chrome. What a lot of people in the podcast, ecosystem, they're saying he's hitting above his belt. How do you think the concept of Swarajya and human excellence, which is innate in our tradition, going to impact technology?
Oh, well, we have connected two dots with the question, which I have to answer now.
Sir, I think, if not you, then who? Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, frankly, Duke, I haven't read the Hindu philosophy or the Hindu manuscripts or the so-called Hindus' cultural evolution. I'm not a student of that, to be very frank, because in the military, we have followed military studies, and I've spent my life excelling in what I understand the military is best at. But that doesn't mean that I don't follow it. I'm a deep follower of our culture, Hinduism, and therefore...
Can I add one thing here, sir? I mean, just one thing, just to kind of elaborate this. Anybody who's born in this pious land has so many practices around him that nudge him to human excellence. Scriptures part is one part, but the way he's grounded into excellence and tradition, whether by yoga, whether by simple acts of breathing, whether by simple acts of sustainable environment, all of them probably have impact similar to reading scripture. So there could be a karma yoga aspect to you and to your life without having the scriptural studies. So please, yeah.
ये मैं विधाता पे छोड़ देता हूँ
जी.
कि विधाता जी की क्या मर्जी है, वो हमें किस रास्ते ले जाते हैं. We will leave it to that. As you rightly said, yes, I consider myself like कर्म योगी. कर्म किए जाओ, फल की चिंता मत करो. So, to me, I think the Hindu way of life, the Indianness, the Bharatiyata, the culture that the subcontinent has actually created is the right ecosystem to create excellence in any field. It is just unfortunate that at some point in time, we overlooked the need to secure this. And during that is a time when the foreign powers who saw this excellence in this nation decided to invade, conquer, and capture these and take it away. We've seen through these almost 2,000 years, 1,000 years of so-called different levels of colonialism that our subcontinent faced. But the strength, as I see, is despite 1,000 years of colonialism and rule by foreign invaders, we have not lost touch with our excellence, and we have retained our resilience and our ability to re-emerge with our quest for excellence. And I think it is this that is now taking shape and will take us to what we call of the new India, the transformed India in 2047. And I'm sure that if these are revived, while we make sure that our territorial sovereignty and technology sovereignty is retained, maintained or achieved. So territorial sovereignty we have to retain, and technology sovereignty we have to attain. If we keep this as our primary goals and allow this ecosystem to flourish, there is no doubt in my mind that our nation can be technologically superior to the best powers in this world.
So is this what is called the civilizational DNA that has percolated in us? I mean, this thing of bouncing back, of being so resilient, of coming back after every push. I mean, we have had our share of troubles over the last 1,000 years.
Yes.
And this re-emergence. So is there, can we use the word civilizational DNA? This is the first part. And the second part, sir, is that with this kind of glorious past, I did my management. I think you also had your stint with the management course, where we keep talking about management gurus like Peter Drucker, Stephen Covey. And when is the trend going to start that, because Peter Drucker says something very similar to what is written in our scriptures multiple time about the essence of time, strategy, so on and so forth. When is the time going to come when our management courses are going to say that Bhagwan Krishna said to Arjun, or this was stated, because those were bigger battles. They were battles of conscience, not just mind, not just having a TRP or a sales or increasing the profit line. So the civilizational DNA, is it going to transfer to the classrooms countrywide? Is it going to be the part of that renaissance for which we are holding the Swarajya Conclave?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was attending some of the sessions of Swarajya Conclave, and the discourse that was happening there was precisely helping the audience understand that the scriptures and the Vedas and the India's so-called guiding principles cannot be just told as a story. They are told as a story more because the mind accepts it as a story, but our ability to tell it as a story and convey the essence of how to train the mind to reach the level of excellence, and thereafter imbibe it in such a manner that as the way without writing our scriptures, it has been passed down the ages. Whether it is Ramayana, whether all of them have been passed down to the mind, so many of it. So exactly in the same way, the DNA, as you rightly said, once these are absorbed in our bodies, through the DNA, it will get passed to the next generation and beyond. And this DNA that India has retained, Bharat has retained for so many years, is under revival, it is getting strengthened. And I'm quite certain that it is our civilizational DNA which will see us through in the next 30 years. With a caveat. There is just one caveat I see, because I deal a lot with youngsters and I deal a lot with startups. I help them raise funds, I help them understand technology, all those things. What I find the difference between what happens in Europe or America, from where my elder son has just come back, to our people here, barring handful of exceptional cases, our youngsters tend to take initiatives and risks with a fear of failure in their mind. For some reason, as a nation, we have not been able to get them out of this fear of failure. Those who have achieved greatness, they have probably come out of it, or they were lucky to be successful. But a large majority are unsuccessful because they tend to become too conservative, too cautious in their approach, and they're planning how not to fail rather than how to succeed. This is where I feel is holding back India.
Got it, sir. Got it. I have really huge questions on this, but I think it's going to steer the conversation in 2-3 hours. You will have to miss the session. But I'll go back to one very interesting event out of your beautiful chapter. You know, I love adventure. I wish more of our young people took adventure sports. I mean, you know, our youth needs to expand beyond cricket. You know, we need to be producing more people like, you know, doing. So, sir, in 1989, you circumnavigated the globe in a yacht without GPS.
Without GPS.
Did your mom not stop you? Or you didn't let her know that, or you just told her that I'm coming from a whole trip? I mean, how did you get inspired? I mean, of course, you are, you know, you are from the forces, and our men know no fear from the forces. But what was the inspiration, sir, for this particular journey?
So, being from the forces alone doesn't give you this kind of spirit of adventure. It's a part of the process. But we had gone on what at that time we will call as extreme adventure. Going into the high seas without communication, without a GPS, using what we call as just a sextant, and trying to sail across in a small yacht.
Where did you travel from?
So the entire travel started from Bombay and returned back to Vizag.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did a very long leg. I mean, I started from Panama and sailed back to India. I was there for almost...
From Panama to?
Back to India.
Wow.
So
Can you just tell us how 3 months?
Yes.
In 3 months, you were in a wind-propelled sail
Yes.
yacht.
Yes.
How many people?
6.
6 people. Okay. I mean, for today, I'd like to tell my young audience that without WhatsApp, that's enough to kill them.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were...
We had none.
You had 6 people able to be in high seas. Which all oceans did you cross, sir?
The Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, come down this side. Of course, we landed up in Indian Ocean. So primarily the Pacific Ocean, and then you came down to the Malacca Strait, crossed that, and then come to the Indian Ocean.
Oh, so for 6 people in a yacht, and did you have food, or you were
Cooking on our own.
cooking from the sea?
Yeah, we would catch something from the sea sometimes. We carry some pre-cooked stuff, something we used to cook. So we had to do everything ourselves.
Wow. Okay. Did you write any book on that, sir?
Yeah, it's in the process.
It's in the process. We are definitely going to look forward to that book.
So that was my another tri-Swiss technology.
Okay.
And that's the reason, one of the reasons why I understand this drone technology a bit more than most people, because those who just work on drones are able to talk of either of electronics of drones or the aerodynamics of drones. But the drone is not driven just by this. The drone has a full ecosystem. It's a far complex machine than what it looks like. It needs a navigation system. So my understanding of navigation, because of usage of sextant and usage of stars to navigate ourselves when there was nothing around you except visibility of few stars during day or night, help me understand how a GPS or a GNSS or a Galileo or a Baidu or now India's Navik works. Conceptual understanding I have. So when we discuss drones which needs to be navigated using this and what challenges we will face or how best to exploit a system, I tend to be slightly better off than the others. So this journey about adventure was not just about physical courage, physical bravado, so to say, but also about a huge learning experience of ocean currents, of measuring tidal waves, of measuring wind speeds, of understanding squalls, of understanding different navigational aspects. So the experience I have come back with that, I think no books can teach.
So this is very important. A lot of our young people today, they attribute a lot of worth to wealth. And in our tradition, wealth is important, but not life mission. It's not. I mean, we aspire to moksha, we aspire to perfection, we aspire
Yes.
to soul's excellence. How does this sense of adventure fuel the entrepreneur in you today? And what do you tell the people, the youngsters that you mentor, and what will be the message for youngsters listening to Swarajya Conclave in India and Indians, young Indians out of India, globally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, firstly, an entrepreneur is a very different breed. I was in Vinod Gupta School of Management the other day giving a talk to the people there, and they asked me the similar question, ki, we have a management degree, how to create entrepreneurs out of them? In a management degree, you can teach them how to manage a startup, but you can't create an entrepreneur out of them. That's a different science altogether or art altogether. Running a startup, the concepts required to run a startup are all theoretical concepts. But an entrepreneur has two things in his heart. Without that, you can't become an entrepreneur. You can be the best managerial candidate. You may have passed IIM with the top degree, best candidate, but you can't become an entrepreneur if you are not an adventurer at heart and if you don't have tribal mentality.
Oh, tribal mentality. That does it mean living with the elements or being at comfort with the elements?
So, as an entrepreneur,
I like it, sir. I really like it. It's just
clicks immediately.
It clicks immediately, sir. It clicks immediately. Yes, sir.
Because what is an entrepreneur? He's running a new race which he himself is not sure of. He has his goal, but he doesn't know how to reach it. And he has to carry a tribe of people with him who believe in him and they are willing to go to any extent to hunt and reach there. And that, if that entrepreneur is able to create that tribal mentality in his group, it will succeed.
Awesome, sir. Awesome. Great to know that, sir. So, I'll go back to some more questions, sir. How did Operation Sindoor change the canvas of the drone technology and the drone rule 21? If you can expand on that.
This is a huge subject. I'm doing a huge study on this with another organization called as Senjos on writing a full-fledged documentation. Hopefully that will come through. But let me see how brief I can be on this. So I think I was asked a similar question when I was in CNN News 18 Conclave. While everybody was gaga over how our drones performed and how we managed to succeed in Operation Sindoor, but I said the same thing with the rider. I say we succeeded in Operation Sindoor with assembled drones and foreign components. So while the drones were ours, they're actually not ours. This is my concern, and this is the lesson I wanted the nation to carry. that Sindoor 2.0 cannot be the same. Our drones today have core electronics which are still foreign, if not belong to our adversaries. The aeroframe of a drone can be developed by any good aeroframe or aerospace institution in the country. BLDC motors are being developed. It has one critical component, that is a magnet, which has to come from a foreign country, if not China. The batteries are being made in India. We have fabulous battery management systems. But again, unfortunately, the cells have to come from a foreign country, if not China. These are the reliance on raw material, or we still have, but it's not critical. We will still get it from somewhere. The drone has 4 core electronics: the flight controller, the C2 link, telemetry, communication link, the navigational module, and the ground control station. These are pure electronics. This is the brain and the nervous system of the drone. Unfortunately, India, as of now, doesn't own it. This is my concern. This has to change.
Sir, your concern brings me to a deeper concern. I'm very sure when you were talking about this on CNN, it could have ruffled a few feathers.
It did.
It could have shaken few people who are comfortable in high chairs,
Yes.
telling everybody that, there's a net of feel-good factor. We love everybody. It's very human to love the pat on the back. And when somebody like you with decades of experience, comes and says that, hey, it could be a party spoiler, sometime. But how willing, in our vision for 100th years of Indian independence in the Swarajya Conclave, how willing are we to be honest and upfront with this kind of truth? And do you see young entrepreneurs who are who are ready to be uncomfortable, and there's a set of mentors and hand holders, because a 20-year-old person or 22-year-old young inventor might be on the right track, but he might be sidetracked by some false euphoria, saying that, he might be meant for bigger things, but his mentor or his hand holders kind of don't let him, the right ignition be triggered in him. So what do you think is the ability of our ecosystem to see things in an earnest perspective, to chase real growth? Are we ready for that?
Yeah, Duke, I think we want to be there, definitely. But are we ready for that? That's what I'll try to answer. So your first question, whether people are willing to accept a candid, critical lesson when somebody speaks in public. I think when I spoke this, there was silence in the hall. And when I explained it further, they were wondering why a military man is speaking like this. But let me tell you, there was huge acceptance subsequently. And today, everybody is talking about it. Someone had to take the lead. And today, whether it is the military, whether it is the policy advocacy, whether it is the government people or business enterprise, everyone is openly saying, yes, we did do with assembled drones, but this needs to change and people are willing to work for it. So therefore, what I'm saying is, it is not about being critical or criticizing. It's about what is the intent behind that criticism. My intent was to build a nation. My intent was to make sure that we go to 2.0 with sovereign systems or self-reliance systems. And to tell the people that if you don't accept this is our weakness, will never happen. So I think the acceptance is there. And as a nation, India is far more today willing to accept harsh truth if definitely if it is interest on the country's future. So that's point number one. Coming to the ecosystem, there are a large number of youngsters today, Duke, who are putting their family jewels to create startups. I will not go into the so-called revenue-based startups who are not developing into deep technology, because that's not my domain. That's a different ballgame altogether. But there are enough startups today.
Could you cite me one or two of these examples, maybe because somebody who might be on the threshold might find this story interesting. I mean, this
Yeah.
this thing could be useful. It
Yeah,
might
sure.
help somebody.
So, when we say deep tech startups, there are a good number of startups who are spending their time and energy. For example, there is a startup called as Stolelabs. They're just two boys. Whatever they could savings they could have, they have put together and beg, borrow, steal. They have picked up some money from family and friends and fools, by the way, and started developing flight controllers.
Wow.
I met them 2 years back, and I myself expressed some skepticism in what they were trying to do. I said, listen, this is too big for you guys. But that's what excited them more. And that's what I liked.
That's nice.
So there are people like that. Now, they were lucky that they had a person in me to kind of mentor them. When I saw that they had real commitment, and there was another former boss of mine who was hand-holding them, and they have reached a stage where they're actually developed a flight controller 2 years down the line. It's on the trial stage. If that happens, and if the trial goes through successfully, let me tell you, India will have its own first flight controller.
That's incredible, sir. My congratulations
Yes.
to these young people.
Then there is Zupa drones. They are doing a similar thing. They are developing different flight controllers.
Zupa drones are here also.
Yeah, they are here also. Then you'll hear about. So there are companies. Zupa was slightly bigger. I'm talking of a company which is, boys who are just putting. Let's take off one more company. This is called as Space Zone India. This boy is a man now. Recently, I awarded him as 7 awardees of Champions of Tamil Nadu. I was fortunate to be invited as the chief guest to give away awards of Champions of Chennai, the best guys. And this gentleman whom I awarded, his company is called as
Space Zone.
Space Zone. A truck driver's son has started a company to launch satellites using hybrid rockets. And today, the company in 5 years down is valued at 800 crores.
That's Space Zone?
It's Space Zone.
Awesome.
So there is talent.
I have a question here, sir.
Yes.
Oh, I have a question here. There was recently a book I was going through which was based on the word called Jugaad.
Yep.
And incidentally, the French consulate in Delhi, when they sent greetings on the Independence Day, the 79th Independence Day, the interviewer, she asked one of the consulate employees, what is your favorite Indian word? And he said, one guy said chalo, which means to go, and the other person said Jugaad. So the top end CEOs of Indian origin, what they do is, massive principles. Satya Nadella is doing empathy-based leadership, and another section of society which is not that privileged or not so flush with resources is doing Jugaad. Now this gentleman from Space Zone, who was a truck driver's son, most meager resources possible, today at 800 crore. So is this Jugaad? And for me, Jugaad is basically something deeply entrenched into the Hindu wisdom of the society, which tells us to be resourceful, sustainable, minimum impact on environment. So is this transition of people into entrepreneur using a Jugaad mindset? And do we need to redefine the word Jugaad when we are having such success stories, which are going into multi-million things? This is impressive.
True. So I know the Jugaad, there's a book also, a lot of people talk about Jugaad. So it depends on how you use Jugaad. If you use a word Jugaad, hey, wo Jugaadu hai, goes into a completely different meaning, right? Whereas when you use Jugaad in the context of innovation, it is transcendental. Everyone does this Jugaad, and Jugaad is not only in technology. Jugaad applies to every walk of life, because you can write the best SOPs in the world, you can write the best process in the world, you can write the best plans in the army in the world for military plans, but there will always be a situation which will surpass all these, and you will not know how to handle it. That is where your innovation and Jugaad ability to overcome that situation and still achieve the objective comes. So Jugaad is about innovative mind, irrespective of the domain, irrespective of the area of action. It can be applied to mathematics, it can be applied to science, it can be applied to management, It can be applied to friendship, it can be applied to leadership, it can be applied to achieving a task. Everywhere, somewhere there will always be an uncertain situation for which you don't have immediate answer. As they say in the military, plan is the first casualty.
Very
Right?
interesting, sir.
So we have to move on to a contingency plan. And what is a contingency plan? Something we didn't think of. So you apply innovation means to still achieve the same goal which the main plan did not. That's Jugaad. So this is the larger aspect of Jugaad, and I think the Indian ecosystem, specifically the Gujarati ecosystem, has mastered this art of Jugaad for achieving success. But I will also say a rider.
So, sir,
I just want to
yeah.
one line here, that while Jugaad is okay to achieve a goal, but you cannot put Jugaad in a PCB. You cannot put Jugaad in a communication module. There you will fail. Creating a PCB, the challenges you face in getting the money, getting people together, getting the process in place, you can do any number of Jugaads. But that PCB or that smart chip or a communication module or a rocket engine, please let there be no Jugaad there.
So, in my understanding, the resilience, the profoundness, ability to interconnect things which are not being seen by a lot of different people, what inherently we Indians can see, the way we Indians can connect dots. What is called in management MBO, management by objective. Probably if we break down this word Jugaad, it will come to Upyukt as in optimal, Upay as in solution, Pratyutpannamati which is instant solutions. So there is a breakdown of multiple inherent tendencies and philosophies in our Indian mind, which can come together in a very optimized way to come up with a different level of entrepreneurship.
And solutions.
It's really heartening that you are mentoring some really amazing young people and creating wealth, creating IP, creating that confidence, which will take us to the realm of what we are discussing, Swarajya at 2047.
Yes.
So, sir, just if you can put some more light on the Drone Rule 21 and how it came to be, and what are the new improvisation in that?
See, Drone Rule 21 was, I think, created sometime in 2019. And it actually got promulgated in 22. To be frank, the Drone Rule 21 is able to support and promote the drone industry in India, but it is not characterized to promote the Indian drone industry.
Okay.
You understand what I meant to say?
Yes.
So, Drone Rule 21 promotes the drone industry in India.
It can be from anyone.
Yeah, but it's not supportive of the Indian drone industry. What does this mean? It's a simple statement, means a lot. So, Drone Rule 21 came when India did not have enough drones, and Government of India obviously wanted to promote drones coming into India for different usages, primarily civilian usage, because military was doing its own drone procurements in a different route. So the Drone Rule 21 was created. I don't think they took the military into confidence on that, because in the list of committees, I didn't see any military man in the Drone Rule 21 creation. So obviously they have not. So the whole character of Drone Rule 21, the conceptual framework of Drone Rule 21 is about how to help the drone industry grow, irrespective of who is making the drone, who does it belong to, and all that. So as a result, the country today has lakhs of drones, and all of them, unfortunately, are assembled SKDs, semi-knocked down kits and fully knocked down kits. So the drone industry grew. But did the Indian drone industry grow? No. That is what I'm saying. The Drone Rule 21 has got serious limitations.
So, sir, since I mean you are quite vocal about it, I understand. I know that you are a part of something called SIDAR. Can you just elaborate on what is the Confederation of Autonomous Platform that stands for?
Yeah, sure, Duke. So this is very close to my heart. And since I've been a proponent of indigenization, I realized that no single company in India, howsoever large it can be, can make its own fully indigenized drone by itself. It may be able to assemble it, but making the entire thing by itself is not possible because it cannot work on the entire spectrum of technologies. So SIDAR is a platform, knowledge platform and policy advocacy platform, which will help all such different components of drone manufacturers from component level to system to subsystem to integration levels together and exchange their assets with each other to be able to come up with an ecosystem which is able to develop this entire indigenization much faster pace than what would happen at a normal course. That is one. And the SIDAR has a collaborative element called as FIDAR, which stands for Federation of Indigenous Drones, Robots, Indigenous Drones, Autonomous Platforms and Robots, FIDAR.
Okay.
So FIDAR is what will be, I would say, framework or a formal framework, commercial formal framework, wherein such companies will tie up through agreements and come up with consortiums. So you can have an R&D consortium where they're co-developing certain system together. You can have a manufacturing consortium where we are manufacturing those co-developed things in a cluster manner and under a consortium, or you can do consortium bidding. So let's say there is a mail drone, I believe it is a mail drone big tender is coming. It can be bid by big names independently. What will these startups do? When will they ever see the light of the day? If only big names keep bidding big contracts, the whole purpose of promoting the MSME, which is what is the future of India they talk of, how will they ever get such big contracts? So that is what FIDAR will do, is to create consortiums of these companies which can come together and bid a large contract as a consortium and then work to build India's indigenous drone.
For the simplicity of consumption, is it equivalent of IDEX but only for drones?
No. IDEX is something different.
Okay.
IDEX is basically promoting anyone who's doing technology development in any component of the drone, any part of the drone, or fully as a drone. Not only a drone, it does for across military platform. Wherever military has a technology gap, it puts it up as a problem statement. And if someone comes up with a proposed solution, money is paid and they develop it. So it's got nothing to do with FIDAR. FIDAR is aggregating. IDEX is not aggregating. IDEX is rewarding. We are aggregating. So we're aggregating indigenization to create.
So you've taken it a step, prior to this point where you are gathering all the good minds of the drone sector.
Absolutely.
And probably
not just minds, the indigenous minds. Who have technology capability, working on deep technology.
Bharatiya deep tech minds.
Absolutely.
And creating a faster cycle turnaround time for the whole industry.
Absolutely.
Fantabulous, sir. It's absolutely a pleasure to host you, Major General Inder Balan, sir. And thank you. Ji, namaste.
Thank you, Duke. We had a wonderful time with you.
Thank you, sir.